Morning greetings to everyone, most especially to the organizers of this virtual orientation on the implementation of the management of cash advances for school maintenance and operating expenses and program funds of non-implementing units pursuant to the joint circular of the Commission on Audit, DBM, and DepEd released in 2019 through DepEd Order number 29, Series 2019. Of course, special mention to our accountant, Ma'am Bing Ladaran, our budget officer, Ma'am Wiwi Taspi, our cashier, Sir Victor Simini, and all our personnel in the division helping each other facilitating this virtual orientation. And of course, my virtual greetings to all the virtual participants, our school heads of the different non-implementing units, as well as the district bookkeepers and district disbursing officers. Well, I am happy to note that our accounting and finance are doing their job in ensuring that we can promote transparency and accountability, specifically in terms of financial or fiscal management in schools. As I mentioned a while ago, there is that joint circular 2019-1 released sometime in February of 2019, and it was disseminated to us in October 17, 2019 of the same year through a DepEd Order number 29, Series of 2019. However, if we will look into the timeline, it is already 2 years ago, but until now, we were not able to fully implement all the necessary or important provisions contained in that particular joint circular of the three connecting agencies: the Department of Education, our mother agency, and the Department of Budget and Management, who is taking charge of the funds to be released to us, as well as the Commission on Audit, who will ensure that we are utilizing well the funds given to us. And so, I am deeply honored and I am appreciative to the efforts done by our budget and finance, as well as our admin services through our cashier section for having this virtual orientation. And with that, I am hoping that after this, 99.9% are the assurance that all necessary and important provisions of that existing joint circular is applied, being followed, being observed by all our non-implementing units, because it's very clear that it is this joint circular is exclusively designed for the non-implementing units. And one important thing that we have to note that until now, as I said, we have not fully implemented, is the opening of what we call as checking or current accounts of all our schools, because based on data, based on reports relayed to me by Ma'am Bing Ladaran, still many of the schools failed to open an account. And so that means we are not observant, we are not compliant to the existing joint circular. Perhaps some of you are not inclined to believe that it will really help us, but if you will read thoroughly that document, I do not know if all of you were able to access and read fully the text of that DepEd Order 29 Series 2019, because if you will read it fully, you cannot finish in one day, because that DepEd Order 2019, Series 2019 consists of 40 pages. So if you will read, not just for the sake of reading, but if you read it with understanding, it's hard to finish in one day, because you have to analyze item per item, specifically that it is on how we operate, how we manage our MOA and other financial transactions in schools. And also at the same time, I know many of our school heads are still head teachers or TICs or non passers of the principal's exam. I would like to tell you that reading fully and understanding it well, the DepEd Order 29 will somehow help you in passing the incoming test, the 2022 principal's test, because that 40 documents, I am quite sure, will be part and parcel of the items that will be included in the questions or in the questionnaires that will be given during that time, because it's on financial aspect, on the operation of the school, on maintenance, on cash advances, maintenance and other operating expenses. So therefore, yeah, it's a vital document, so better study it. So your attendance now, I hope that you are not just there opening your link just to be considered present, but uh, aside from your intent of joining so that you will know how to implement it, at the same time, if you are still planning to take, because you are not yet a taker or passer of the principal test, then again, as I said, this will guide also. So it might be considered a double purpose. You will be oriented and reoriented if you have read it already. There might be gray areas on your part, and this is now the time that perhaps after the orientation you can ask questions to be clarified. In that way, we will be having the same line of thinking, the same interpretation, and there is always what we call as always think that everything, or even if this is the guideline, but there are situations that the implementation will vary depending on the situation. No, there is this guidelines, but there is what we say as from time to time, there is always harmonization of the guidelines and the existing situation. So that is why it's good that if you will listen carefully, so that you can raise if you have some concerns, and how it can be linked or how it can be considered, so that it will be aligned or will be considered as aligned with the existing situation or aligned with what is specified in the joint circular. So with that note, allow me to share with you this time a story that is taken in the what we call that online platform in the internet. Allow me to share with you. Hopefully, this will guide us as you participate this one-day orientation. Now, this story is entitled "Keeping the Roots Stronger." Once upon a time, there were two neighbors living next to each other. One of them was a retired teacher, and another one was an insurance agent who had a lot of interest in technology. Both of them had planted different plants in their garden. The retired teacher was giving a small amount of water to his plants and did not always give a full attention to them, while the other neighbor, interested in technology, had given a lot of water to his plants and looked after them too well. The retired teacher's plans were simple but looked good. The insurance agent's plans were much fuller and greener. One day, during the night, there was a heavy rain and a wind due to a minor storm. Next morning, both of the neighbors came out to inspect the damage to their garden. The neighbor, who was an insurance agent, saw that his plants came off from the roots and were totally destroyed. But the retired teacher's plants were not damaged at all and were standing firm. The insurance agent's neighbor was surprised to see it. He went to the retired teacher and asked, "We both grew the same plants together. I actually looked after my plants better than you did for yours, and even gave them more water. Still, my plants came off from the roots, while yours didn't. How is that possible?" The retired teacher smiled and said, "You give your plants more attention and water, but because of that, they didn't need to work themselves for it. You made it easy for them, while I gave them just an adequate amount of water and let the roots search for more. And because of that, their roots went deeper, and that made their position stronger. That is why my plants survive." My dear participants, disbursing officers, bookkeepers, principals, or even district supervisors in attendance, and our budget and finance and cashiering section personnel, that story is very simple. I would just like to say, let's take a look at that situation on our situation, especially to our principals. Are you thinking that the division office or the budget and finance are acting like the insurance agent or acting like the retired teacher? Well, for me, our budget and accounting is just acting as a retired teacher. They are just giving you enough direction. They are not giving you an overreaction or an overprotection, because like in the story, the insurance agent are taking care too much of the plant, and so therefore during that night when there is a strong wind, uh, all the plants were uprooted, while that of the retired teacher still intact. So the same is true with you, our dear school heads. Do not expect that we in the division office, especially this time, this is all about financial management in your MOE and other funding sources. Do not expect that 24/7 that our budget and finance will look into how you will operate, how you will manage, how you will disburse, how you will liquidate your cash advances. But what is supposed to be done for them is just to provide enough guidance, enough support, so that you have your own room for adjustment. You have your own room of initiative, and you can develop, you can grow, because if you will not be given that freedom to do more, then you will not grow in terms as a leader in terms of financial management. So that is why even the DepEd order consists of 40 pages disseminating that Joint Circular 2019-1 of DepEd, DBM, and COA. But the orientation is just for one day. Because what our budget and finance and cashiering unit wants to do is just to, as I said a while ago, to provide guidance, to provide directions, and to give some insights or outputs for those you believe are gray areas. But the rest of the game must lie in your own arms. So just use the story that I read a while ago as your guide. Be a retired teacher because we are educators. So let us like that retired teacher, not the insurance agent who take care who did more than enough, and which is not good also for us. So to all of you, especially to our organizers and facilitators, Ma'am Bing, Ma'am Wiwit, Sir Victor, Sir Fermin for the admin, our assistant superintendents, and the rest of the team, shall I say, virtual and a happy and safe day for all of us. Because in DepEd Bohol, we care for all. Behold, Bohol.